Hello and welcome to the channel. Former President Buhari's mantra before becoming president in 2015 was how he was going to defeat corruption. His campaign was built on fighting corruption, but after the election at first, it seemed like it was a battle he was going to win. It didn't take long though for Buhari to lose the fight and succumb to corruption. Let's go back into time and see how corruption defeated Buhari. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you. How Buhari's anti-corruption war switched from fighting to encouraging corruption. President Muhammadu Buhari, while campaigning for office in 2014, promised to tackle corruption headlong and bring it to its knees. The promise was rooted in his stint as Nigeria's head of state in the early 1980s, when the former military dictator built a reputation as a no-nonsense leader with a hard stance against corruption. At the time, Nigeria was battling on insurgency in the northeast and endemic corruption nationwide. Mr. Buhari's military experience and anti-corruption record became most persuasive to voters who chose him over the incumbent President Goodluck Jonathan in the 2015 election. If we do not kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria, Mr. Buhari often said as he rallied Nigerians for votes during campaigns and after coming into office. On assumption of office in 2015, Mr. Buhari's regime took up the fight against corruption in Nigeria's public sector to the applause of many Nigerians. Barely 6 months in power, Mr. Buhari ordered the arrest of Sambo Dasuki, then immediate past National Security Advisor NSA, who served in ex-President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. Mr. Dasuki, a retired army colonel, was indicted by an investigative committee on arms procurement for allegedly diverting over $2 billion entrusted in the care of his office. The heist later gained the appellation Dasuki Gate. Mr. Dasuki and other suspects who allegedly benefited from the funds were later arraigned at different courts in Abuja. Some leaders of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) were fingered and tried for the diversion of humongous public funds meant for the purchase of arms to battle BH regime. Top military brass, including the then immediate past Chief of Defense Staff, Alex Bade, were also put on trial over alleged mismanagement of military funds, which hitherto were never subjected to scrutiny by civil authorities. In another major stamp of his anti-graft footprint, the State Security Service (SSS), at the behest of Mr. Buhari, raided the homes of senior judges in 2016. The jurists were suspected of stockpiling cash, funds considered to be proceeds of corrupt practices. In the never-seen-before nationwide operation, scores of armed SSS operatives broke into the official residencies of the judges, confiscating both local and hard currencies. The clampdown, which started in Gombe State, saw the secret police move against Muazu Pindiga, a judge of the Federal High Court. Then operatives raided the official quarters of Sylvester Ngwuta, now deceased, and John Okoro, both justices of the Supreme Court, on Friday, 9th of 7th October 2016, and dragged into early Saturday morning. While the raids reverberated across Nigeria, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, justified the action. Mr. Malami, a senior advocate of Nigeria's son, said the raids were legitimate as they were part of routine investigations. Of the 7 judges who were arrested by the SSS, 2 of them, Sylvester Ngwuta of the Supreme Court and Adeniyi Ademola of the Federal High Court, Abuja, were prosecuted. The administration also took advantage of the non-conviction-based asset recovery proceedings to recover huge amounts of looted funds and assets acquired with proceeds of corruption and other criminal activities. In July 2017, Mr. Buhari earned the endorsement of the African Union AU to lead the fight against corruption on the continent. But it did not take long before public confidence in the administration's anti-corruption war began to wane, with top administration officials becoming entangled in corruption allegations without any prompt and decisive response from the president. The administration was accused of being selective in its choice of suspects to investigate or prosecute. Members of the opposition political parties with corruption allegations got appointments in the government, while the president pretended not to be aware of their pending cases. Early signs of the administration loss in the anti-corruption war emerged early in the life of the administration when the now jailed pension funds looter, Abdulrasheed Maina, was almost reabsorbed into the civil service with the help of the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, and other administration officials until the scheme was exposed by Premium Times in 2017. Mr. Maina would later be jailed by the Federal High Court in Abuja in November 2021 as the EFCC doggedly ensured the fugitive was brought to trial. In another instance, Mr. Malami terminated the 25 billion naira fraud trial of a former governor of Gombe State, Danjuma Goje, based on political considerations. Mr. Goje's prosecution by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) was at its tail end when Mr. Malami terminated it. He would later justify it in an interview with this newspaper, Premium Times, last January, that his action was in furtherance of overriding public interest. Similarly, in what turned to be a trend all through his time in office, Mr. Malami, in less than a month to the end of his stay in office, withdrew the prosecution of a military officer, Nicholas Achinze, a former aide to Mr. Dasuki, the ex-NSA to President Jonathan. The main case involving Mr. Dasuki has lingered in court for 8 years with little progress. His illegal incarceration for years with the backing of Mr. Malami contributed significantly to the delay suffered by the case. Some others, the government charged with offenses relating to diversion of funds of the NSA office, were freed by courts. In a similar fashion, the judges sensationally arrested by the government were acquitted. Dealing the most devastating blow to the anti-corruption efforts was the pardon the regime granted to convicted former governors Jolly Nyame, a former governor of Taraba State, and Joshua Dariye, a former governor of Plateau State in 2021. Messrs. Nyame and Dariye's convictions in May and June 2018 bolstered the government's avowal to defeat corruption, especially amongst politically exposed persons, PEPs. That's the news, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.